There you are.
Hi, Noel.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. So Amoda, it's so good to have you here. I am going to read your bio, and then I will click mute, so they're just seeing you. You will still see me, but everyone, now that we've confirmed we can see and hear you, everyone will see you. So I'll start with your bio, and we'll go from there. Does that work?
Good.
Okay. Amoda Ma is a spiritual teacher sharing a fresh approach to the age-old search for spiritual freedom. Her essential teaching features a timeless truth that is highly relevant to this moment for contemporary seekers willing to go the raw edge where spirituality meets humanity. Great bio. Thank you so much for being here today. I will let you take it from here.
Okay, thanks, Noel. Okay, so welcome to everyone that's here. Let's begin with a few minutes of silence. Just closing our eyes. Okay, taking an in-breath and out-breath, slowly opening your eyes. So, the title of my talk is the embodiment of enlightenment, the embodiment of non-duality. The embodiment of non-duality. The realization of non-dual awareness is often held as the pinnacle of spiritual achievement. It seems so difficult often to get there. Either through spiritual practice, through some kind of willingness or willfulness, through all the striving that is involved on the path of self-discovery, self-realization. It seems to be the Holy Grail. But in fact, awakening out of the dream of separation, which is the realization of non-dual awareness, is in fact quite easy. We slip into it when it finally happens, takes place. It is experienced either as a kind of blip, a slipping into an awakeness that was always here. Or it can be a big bang when that shift in perspective happens very suddenly or unexpectedly or without prior preparation. And then it seems like a big deal. It seems like something has really happened. Now I have arrived. Now we can talk more about that, but what I really want to talk about, because I'm sure that many other speakers have been speaking about the realization of non-duality, what I'd like to speak about is what next? What now? If I say that awakening is in some ways easy, it's a little bit like falling off a log. When it happens, it's like, why hasn't this happened before? Why haven't I seen this before? Why haven't I known this before? And there is a knowing that I have known this, and yet it wasn't seen. But what is more challenging and what is often not explored, although perhaps more these days, but I find that in speaking with many people that this is still such a stumbling block, an area of confusion. What now? What now? And this is the part that really matters, because awakening in some ways is easy. Living that awakening, embodying that awakening all the way is where the real journey begins, where the real challenge is, where the tricky part is. Why is that tricky? Because very often the vessel of mind, of body, which includes feeling, the feeling sense, the capacity to feel, is often not prepared. When I say prepared, I mean emptied. We come with our history, we come with our baggage, we come with our karma, we come with our unique geometric expression, the pattern of who we are as personalities, as individuals, as unique beings. And that pattern is very much conditioned. Some of it is innate and some of it is conditioned. If the vessel hasn't been prepared, if there hasn't been any digging down into the dirt, then awakening that the light of that non-dual realization is less likely to take root, to filter all the way. So the real work starts here. The real work starts when the light of awakeness, which it really is a mental realization. Yeah? When I say mental, I don't mean intellectual, but a realization of mind, where we have a vaster view of reality. Yeah, we see that everything, all form, all duality, is born out of the non-dual, out of the one consciousness. This is profound. I'm not saying it's not profound. It's profound, but it's only the beginning, because it starts in the mind realm. And when we hold that up, the mind realm, and that is traditionally what has happened, we've held up the mind realm as more valuable than the more messy human realm. Yeah, the realm of the heart. Yeah, because in the mind there can be pristine awareness. Yeah, we glimpse that through meditation. We glimpse that through non-dual portals that open. We glimpse that when we're sitting in the presence of beauty, in the presence of silence. It's always here. It's always, yeah, but mostly in the background. When it comes into the foreground, then there's a profound realization that this is the primary reality. Yes, beautiful, but then the light of that pristine awareness must filter in. It must filter all the way down into the heart and into the belly of the human existence. And that's where it gets tricky, and that's where it gets messy, and that's where it can get confusing. What does that mean? It means that once awakening has been glimpsed, there must be an ongoing willingness, which requires courage, tenacity, as well as gentleness, to surrender to that awakeness. It's easy after awakening to believe that I have arrived. I have got it now. Here is the Holy Grail. I've got it. I've seen it. I've understood it. I've realized it. I know my true nature. And unfortunately, that becomes another veneer of ego self, of identity, that can be quite a harsh veneer in terms of a kind of arrogance, a kind of superiority, or it can be a very subtle veneer where there's a hidden belief or agenda that now everything is perfect. Now my life will flow according to my imagination or dream of perfection. Everything will be just right. Everything will fall into place. I will be blessed. I will be graced. And then when life is not like that, because it isn't, yeah, the nature of life is wavy. It's not static. There are always ups and downs. There are always challenges. There are always places of growth for the human being, for the human being on this path in this lifetime. And there may be old and hidden, unexplored areas of armoring around the heart, the places where we defend against being hurt. If these have not been examined, if these have not been brought to the light of awareness prior to awakening, then surely they will come up after awakening. And that's where the confusion comes. Yeah. both in terms of life itself and what it offers and what it brings, and all the ups and all the downs and all the challenges and all the struggles. And here we are in this time where the world itself, whether you are awakened or not, is bringing an immensity and intensity to our very human experience that is undeniable. And then there are the more personal struggles and challenges and areas of growth and hidden areas, the shadowlands of our own unique life journey. All of that comes up to be seen, unless it is very much repressed when we hold up this idea that I have awakened, I have arrived, and now everything is perfect and beautiful, and I will focus only on this perspective, and it is a lopsided perspective. In order for awakening to be true, in order for awakening to be real, in order for awakening to be of any benefit to you and to the world, then it must filter all the way. That does not mean you must become a perfect person. It means that you are invited to surrender to that awakening, to that awakening. What does that mean? That means to be very open and soft and gentle and courageous in your capacity to be present in the midst of vulnerability. Vulnerability is the one thing that humans, awake or not, tend to avoid. What does that mean? That doesn't mean being a victim. That doesn't mean being helpless, although helplessness and powerlessness may appear in that. Vulnerability means that when the old reactive pattern, the knee-jerk reaction of defendedness, and that comes in many forms, and I'm enlightened, I have arrived, is an aspect of defendedness. Yeah? When that arrives, when that arises in response to your experience or in response to your experience of life, of the world, that is the time to put down your weapons of war, because defendedness is warmongering. It is a violent response to your experience. It's a violent response towards any feeling of vulnerability. Vulnerability, I say again, is not a weakness, it is a strength. Vulnerability means you have the capacity, the willingness, the tenacity, the courage, and the humility to stand as openness in the midst of brokenness, in the midst of agony, in the midst of terror, because that's the only way you will discover that which is unbroken amidst it all. And this is an ongoing journey, an ongoing journey. It doesn't stop anywhere, it doesn't arrive anywhere. So don't stop at awakening, don't just look for awakening. Yeah, give yourself to the whole journey, the full embodiment. Let it filter into your heart. And one of the areas that we are very much defended is in the realm of intimate relationship. Yeah? The realm of intimate relationship, that's the place where we can be the most reactive, where we are triggered, where we feel helpless, where we feel rejected. Yeah? So it's about feeling. Feeling is not the same as emotion. Yeah, emotion is a backlog of what happened in the past and ends up as reactivity, an outburst, something that you either suppress or something that you reject or something that you just dump onto the other in blame, in attack, and so on, in judgment, whether it's the other in intimate relationship or whether it's the relationship with the world. I'm talking about feeling. Our capacity to be very intimate with the felt sense of what is here, what is here, what is here, which can easily be overlooked. It's a sensitivity to this, to this. And this sensitivity becomes a love affair with what is. Yeah, you become a lover of what is. If you like, it's a tantric experience. I'm not talking about tantric practices, but a deep intimacy with the human experience as it continues to unfold. And in that intimacy, there is no ownership of that experience. There is no ownership of the feeling. You are permeable, you are transparent, and yet everything is felt. It's such a paradoxical place. It is everything and nothing. And that journey continues to refine itself until you can stand as silence in the midst of the noise of the world, the noise of any personal narratives that arise. Silence is not a wall that you put up between you and that which you don't like. It's not a wall between the non-dual and the dual, yeah, and duality. It's silence is that which permeates the very existence that you are, the very existence. When you know that silence, when you are that silence, because you give no more allegiance to the narratives that arise in response to your inner experience. When there is vulnerability, when there is pain, when there is hurt, when there is fear. Those are not the problem, those are not the issue. They continue to arise in awakeness, because awakeness is simply awareness, the open space of awareness, of thisness, of suchness. That's not the problem. The problem is making that experience a problem. And that happens when we wrap narratives which come from our conditioning, our beliefs, our ideas, our imaginations, our hopes, our fears, our rejections, our resistances, when we wrap narratives around our experience. This is wrong. This shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't be feeling like this. The world shouldn't be like this. And these narratives become a problem. Life becomes a problem. The world becomes a problem. You become a problem. When we stop giving our allegiance to the narratives, that's when we can fall into an openness of being, which is true silence. And that is our true strength. That is our true power. And that is how awakening filters into our very cellular being. Yeah, the nervous system calms down. Yeah? The old reactivity is cleaned up, it's cleansed, it's purified. The defendedness of the heart is purified, the armoring. And we stand as that openness. It's not an openness that can open and close. That's on the surface. I open when I feel comfortable, but I close when I feel scared or uncomfortable, when I'm threatened. No, openness, true openness is that which you already are, as the suchness of this. Just this beingness, just this aliveness. Nothing and no one and no thing can take this away from you. This aliveness, this very heartbeat, this very pulse, this very breath, this very I amness. This is it. This is it. And this is not a denial of anything. This is not a resistance to anything. So having the courage and the awareness and the intelligence to allow awakeness to filter into the totality of our lives. That is grace, that is graceful, that is maturity. We come into a place of spiritual maturity. Yeah? We are no longer children holding on to some idea of awakening as a perfect place. Now, very often, depending on where we are on our own unique life journey, we may have done a lot of what I call emptying the vessel, in terms of looking at unconscious beliefs, feelings that have been suppressed, everything that we have rejected, either due to trauma or fear or powerlessness, whatever we have learnt in our lives and whatever karma we bring, we may have done a lot of work on that. I'm not talking just about the work on the personality level, although it starts there, to look at what has been wounded, to look at where we have abandoned ourselves, to look at where we have given over our inner authority to those whom we have trusted, our parents, our teachers, our politicians, our whoever it might be, our spiritual teachers, and to see how we have moved away from our inner authority. Yeah? This is good work. We might call this shadow work. We can call it what we like, and it doesn't matter which method has been used. And then there is the work of the recognition of awareness as the space that you are through meditation and so on and so on. There might be other psycho-spiritual techniques. So we may have done a lot of work on that. It's like tilling the soil, preparing the ground. And then if and when, and it's no guarantee, the little blip or the big blip of awakened awareness reveals itself, then the filtering into the mind-body vehicle can be gentle, it can be smooth, although it may have certain areas that come up quite starkly. Might be a relationship, an old relationship with a parent, or something that an old trauma that hasn't been totally met in presence, and this will come up. And if we haven't prepared the soil, then that whole journey of embodying non-duality, embodying non-dual awareness can be very challenging. It can be very confusing. It can be like, oh, what the fuck? Why is this happening to me? I thought I had awakened. And then we can flip the other way, believe that we've lost it, believe that something bad has happened. And all of these are the little trials and tribulations along the way. So it's good to investigate. Most people that I work with that come to me ask questions about this part of it. Most people have been spiritual seekers for 40 years or more. They've been on the path, they've done the practices, they continue to do the practices, or there has been a profound glimpse of awakening, a realization, and still life is kind of shit. Still shitty things happen, and why? And what do I need to do to arrive at the holy grail? Yeah, why am I not there yet? I must be unworthy, I must be doing something wrong, and so on and so on. So I'm here to talk about that, really, to talk about that. I could talk a lot more, but I'd like to read something, and I know there's some questions coming up, and I know we still have time. So if you could bear with me, I'd like to read something that I wrote a while back. I do a lot of writing, if you don't know. Some of it is on my website, some of it on my Facebook page and some of it in my books. But let me read you something because it's highly relevant to this conversation. And let's see, I invite you just to listen. Listen from silence, listen from emptiness, listen from openness. It's called Before Awakening, Get Down into the Dirt. Before awakening can truly flower, first get down into the dirt. Get into all those nooks and crannies where the light of awareness has not yet entered. Dare to enter the shadowlands, where feelings that were once too much to bear, feelings that were stuffed away because you were scared of being overwhelmed, feelings that were trampled on by those who said they were wrong, these feelings that hide out in shame and gather power by numbers. In this dark, secret place, these unloved feelings lurk and threaten to erupt in those moments when you don't yet have the strength to be fully present to what is. Those moments when you're triggered and the time bomb of reactivity is detonated. So be daring, my friend. Dare to walk through the valley of darkness. Dare to dig into the mud and shit of your past, to spew out the suppressed energies that are seemingly so scary. Be courageous enough and humble enough to be a warrior of the heart, to do this as an act of love, an act of kindness to yourself. Dig down into the dirt and pick up what has been forgotten. Hold it tenderly so that it can scream and kick without blame or guilt, so that it can fully express itself and release itself in the open hand of permission. Do what you need to do. Shake, shout, shiver and shriek. Let your heart break into a million pieces. Let the storm raging in your belly tear you asunder. Let the tears of 1,000 years wash you inside out. Dare to fall apart. And then, thread by thread, weave yourself together again. Not in the same old way, not with an army of defenses, not with any attempt for self-protection. No, my friend, do not try to reconstitute yourself using the same old strategies. Weave yourself together by simply being present to what is here in the falling apart. What is truly here, what is always here, unmoving, unshakable, unbroken. It is this that holds you in the midst of agony, in the midst of horror, in the midst of fear. It is this that holds you in presence, that is you as presence. And in this presence, and as this presence, you can meet anything and everything. No more need to run away, to hide, to stuff down, to battle with. No more need to hold it all together for fear of falling apart. And no more need to reach the giddy heights of transcendence in order to avoid getting your hands dirty in the human experience. You see, my friend, a great error is made on the path of awakening. In the desperate desire to reach a state of awakeness that will magically lift you up above the mire of earthly life, you forget to dig down into the dirt first. You forget to tend to the human vessel with its story of hurt and abuse and obeisance to an authority that is not your own. You forget to grieve for those times you have abandoned yourselves, those times when you said yes when you meant no, those times when you turned away from your true feelings. You forget to do what needs to be done, to empty yourself of grievances, to breathe more deeply, feel more fully, love more fully. Yes, a great error is made in the quest to reach the promised land of awakening. You forget that a lotus has roots in the mud. You forget that a flower is the natural outcome of a seed that has been germinating in the darkness. Awakening too often happens too soon, too fast, before the seed has germinated, before the work has been done below the surface. All this causes chaos as what lies beneath the surface erupts to be held in the light of awareness. The vessel is not ready, not able to meet all the darkness that tumbles into the light. Confusion, depression, despair, and desperation, all this and more are inevitable. It's a sign that true awakening has not taken place. Just a glimpse, often mistaken for the whole sky. Just a petal, often mistaken for the full flower. The flower of awakening is natural when the roots go deep into the mud, when you have done the work of tending to whatever holds you back from being fully present, when you have ended the argument with life, when you have bowed down to love's intelligence, when you're willing to die in the midst of what hurts, then the light of awakeness can penetrate all the way through your mind to your heart, to your belly, and into the very fabric of your living reality. Now every cell celebrates with the joy of presence. Everything relaxes. Awakening, my friend, is natural. Awakening is the flower of consciousness. It comes naturally when you've dared to hold everything in your experience in love, when you've dared to dig in the dirt, when you've dared to rise into presence. Friend, do not mistake the petal for the flower. Be patient, do the inner work, and wait. Be true to the deepest in you. Do the work and wait. One day, when you least expect it, the flower will come by itself. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Do you want to take some questions now?
I think that would be a good place for questions.
Perfect. That was amazing. I got the sense of the race to the starting line instead of the finish line. That's amazing. So you have some questions. There's just some gratitude shared, but we'll start with a question. Chang says, "Hi, AMODA. I love everything you said. When spiritual teachers dismiss questions about social problems and even at times say those things don't matter, I get really pissed and sad. What a terrible bypass. I'd love to see your fire about this."
You see, the world is a matrix. The world is a web of conditioned thinking, opinions, beliefs, ideologies, conclusions, positions that are taken, and that creates the world of opposition, that creates the world of violence, violent words, violent actions, violent thoughts against those who do not agree with us, who do not take the same position, who do not come to the same conclusion. And so we end up in a place of self-righteousness. That self-righteousness and the conclusion it has come to, or the position that it takes, may seem very righteous. It may seem very right, either politically correct, socially correct, morally correct, and so on. So we have to be very careful here. Yeah. Whilst I say include everything in the experience, no bypassing, I am not looking for a solution to problems within the very matrix that created the problems in the first place. So the foundation of the solution, or the foundation of the resolution to all worldly problems, is in consciousness. It starts from there. Until we can come to a place of deepest silence in ourselves, then we cannot move or act in the world from that silence. And only acting or moving in the world from that silence is intelligent. unfortunately, there are not many, as far as I can see, people who act or move from that place. Yeah? Spiritual teachers or spiritual leaders tend to be in the bypass place or in the nothing matters place, and then there aren't, as far as I can see, I mean, there are some rare examples of those who are fully awake and in the world, who can actually take action from that place. And yet it's down to each of us, which is why I speak of this. It's down to each of us to go on that inner revolution. Yeah, it's an inner revolution of consciousness. And until that inner revolution goes all the way, as the embodiment of this awakeness, as the embodiment of silence, then we will not be responding to life intelligently, whether that's in the social arena, whether that's in the political arena, whether that's in the economic arena, or any aspect of life. And this has to fundamentally change. Whether it will or not, I have no idea. But we start as the individual. We can't wait for the world. And I'm inviting you, I'm inviting those I speak with, not to come with a preconceived agenda of what is right for the world, but to really listen. What I'm talking about is listening from silence, listening to your deepest intelligence from silence, listening to the world from silence, not adding to the violence through violent thinking, through taking positions, through coming to conclusions, or from reactive emotionality or self-righteousness. Because we're simply creating or adding or weaving the web tighter and tighter. So something has to fundamentally change. The revolution is not on the outside, the revolution is on the inside. When enough people have taken that revolution on the inside, then perhaps something beautifully revolutionary can happen on the outside.
Wonderful, thank you. To the next question, how do you deal with jealousy in romantic relationships?
Whatever emotion is appearing in intimate relationship, the invitation, well, first of all, is to admit it, yes? So to acknowledge that. And then what is being invited in that, whatever it is, it could be jealousy, it could be rejection, abandonment, and so on, being misunderstood, and so on. The invitation is always to become intimate with the felt sense of that emotion. When we do not become intimate with that, in other words, when we do not meet it in absolute presence and openness, that means there isn't a narrative with it. It's just felt. What's the texture of jealousy? If you could taste it, if you could touch it. That's not from the mind. It doesn't have a narrative like he shouldn't have done that, or I'm a bad person for feeling this. It's giving your allegiance to something more intimate. The narrative is disconnected. It's out here somewhere in the imagination. There may be a narrative. Okay, touch it, taste it. Let it rip you apart. And do nothing. Do nothing. Wait. You'll probably find that feeling, that emotion that has you entrapped, imprisoned, dissolves. Oh, but then it comes back again. Then the invitation is to meet the texture of that again. And as you do that, this is exactly what I'm speaking of. And you are then listening from silence, not listening from the many narratives about why this shouldn't be happening, or why it should be happening, or why he's wrong, she's wrong, I'm wrong, they're wrong, and so on. You're listening from silence, yes? then an intelligent response may come. You may find that the jealousy was an old pattern that has no relevance in this case. Or you may find that there is a basis of truth in it. Yes. And then perhaps there can be an intelligent response. Very often we don't want to face the other. Yeah? There's one thing facing the other with blame and judgment and attack, or submissiveness and victimness. There's another thing with in telling the truth and standing as that truth. I feel this. I don't know why I feel this, but I feel it. There's no blame. There's no victim in that. We tell the truth and we listen to the truth. That's how you transform relationship from unconscious relationship, where we need the other to love us, and therefore we'll do anything to bypass our own truth, our own authority, in order to be loved. We transform it from an unconscious relationship, a romantic relationship, to a real relationship, a relationship in which we meet each other in truth and in openness and in love. And that's where true love can flower.
Wonderful. So the next question, let's see if I can phrase it a different way, but post-liberation, when tragedy happens, what is different?
So you mean?
Well, I'll read.
Tragedy strikes after liberation.
Yeah, basically. I'll post it so you can see the exact question, but that's the essence.
No, I understand. I'm just looking at all the comments. I hadn't seen those. Beautiful, beautiful. When tragedy, loss, heartbreak, all of which are part of the human experience, at some point, liberated or not, you will lose your beloved. You will lose your beloved pet, or your beloved mother, or your beloved partner. You will lose your own life. Or something else. We may lose this world. Already it is falling apart. Yeah, there's tragedy, if you like, or heartbreak in that. Yes. What is different? There is no more drama. There is no more problem. There is no more, this shouldn't be happening to me. And this shouldn't be happening to me, or it is happening to me means that I'm being punished, means that I'm unworthy, means that I'm not good enough, means that I'm not enlightened enough, and so on. Means that I'm not loved enough. The story of me as a victim of life ends. It ends. Of course there is heartbreak when we lose something that is beloved. Of course, the heart opens in devastation. And the very ground is taken out from under our feet. Of course. At some point you have to let go of everything when this body goes. When you come right up to the edge of the void. What a beautiful heartbreak that is. What a beautiful loss that is. Now the tragedy can be harsh. Yes, if we lose a child. Or we lose the use of our legs, our bodies, our minds, and so on. Of course, tragedy can cut like a knife. But in liberation, yes, let's use that word since that's the word that was used in the question, even this agony, even this heartbreak that pierces me to the core, it's just this, because somewhere, either in the foreground or in the background or somewhere in between, awareness, yes, that which is aware, the I that is aware, that is always present, right from the moment of birth right through to the moment of death, as far as we know, through all tragedy, through all victory, has always been here, ever present. Everything else comes and goes. Your relationship comes and goes, your child comes and goes, your feelings come and go, your body will eventually go, so it's come and it will go. Everything comes and goes. It's all scenery. Now, that is not bypassing. To live in the paradox where you truly know that everything is scenery upon the canvas of awareness, and yet to feel it all the way, that's the paradox of enlightenment.
Wonderful, thank you. So Miranda asks, what are your thoughts on free will?
Well, first of all, I don't have any great philosophical thoughts on it, but I can only speak from my experience. I'm not going to speak from the conventional non-dual perspective in that free will is an illusion. Having said that, I think it is. It's both. It's both. We have the sense of free will, and everything is done through us and to us. Yeah. My personal and direct experience is that, in fact, everything, this life, the movement of this life, yeah, this unique AMODA Mars life, is totally out of my control. I am not choosing it. I am not making it happen. It is all happening to me and through me. I could not have dreamed this up. I could have imagined a lot of things. And I mean everything, from the mundane to the more cosmic. There's a sense that everything is, if you like, predestined. It's a destiny that unfolds. I'm not sure how much that is predestined in that there's a set, movie that's scripted and given to me. I don't know about that, but I think it's more complex than that. But certainly the sensation that I am in control, or that I am making anything happen, or that I'm in charge of my life in that way, that is not the ground or the foundation from which I operate, which means that whatever does happen happens very fluidly and easily and without drama. Yeah. However, and it's not exhausting. Having said that, there are certain, if you like, choices that do seem like free will. The choice to turn allegiance over and over again to presence and openness, come what may, even after liberation. That's my choice. That's my willingness. I have the choice. The choice to be present, or to make wise or intelligent or wholesome choices in my life. That's up to me, whether it's to do with my eating habits, whether it's to do with my daily habits, when I sleep, when I wake up, and so on, that feels up to me. That's my choice. My choice to say yes or no, to have healthy boundaries in the human realm. That's my choice. I am not helpless in that. It doesn't just happen magically, predestinedly. However, the movement of this life, the shape of this life, the expression of this life, the manifestation of this life, and its ongoingness are beyond my control. And to me, that is life, lifing itself through me. And I am a willing, because I have no choice, willingly surrendered to that. I have a choice whether I surrender to that. Yes, I have surrendered to it willingly. And it has had many movements and many waves, some of them stormy and some of them divine over the years. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So it looks like we have time for one more. When life appears as emotional pain, as hardship, what to do when life does not deliver the antidote?
Well, I think I've just answered that.
It sounds like it, yeah.
I think I've answered that in everything I've said. When life doesn't bring you what you want, you have a choice.
There you go.
You can reject it, you can resist it, and therefore create a problem out of life. Yeah, and therefore, become separate again from life. Life is doing this to me, and you can reify that belief system. Yeah, or you can willingly surrender to it and say, this, welcome, even though I don't want it. That's becoming intimate with life. That's becoming a lover of what is. That's all I've done in my life. I haven't looked for awakening. I haven't looked for enlightenment. I didn't think it was possible. Those were the masters, yeah? There was no non-duality in my day. Well, there might have been. That term wasn't really around, except in the Advaitic teachings. Not the way it is today. I wasn't looking for that. But I did realize that surrender, becoming a lover of what is, loving this and loving this, whether I wanted it or didn't want it, it's going to happen anyway. The relationship was going to end anyway. Yeah, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. The war was going to happen anyway. The house was going to be repossessed anyway. And so on and so on and so on. I was going to get older. Yeah. I was going to lose my eyesight. It's going to happen anyway. So I chose to become a lover of what is over and over again. Yeah. When I went to India, I learned this because there was no choice. Everything that was the opposite of that, fear, resistance, shrinking back, through the small dramas and through the big dramas, the tragedies, was hell. And so I gave myself willingly to life and all its emotional landscape, the whole lot. I'm not my emotions. Emotions happen. It's the storm in the sky. I am the sky. I learnt to be the sky. I realized I am the sky. So I wasn't looking for a glimpse of awakening, a glimpse of perfection, a glimpse of transcendence, although there were many of those, far out cosmic, but I knew that wasn't it. And by, I became the sky until one day I fell into the sky. And that's all there is. It's the only way. Okay,
Thank you. My face hurts from smiling. Thank you so much. That was so amazing. So we have about a minute left. We have your information up on the site, but if you want to take an opportunity and tell us what you have coming up, online meetings, anything, then please tell us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have a new book coming out. It's called Falling falling open in a world falling apart. So it really speaks to this. Yeah, it's all of this and more, and very much about the times we live in as well, although I'm not focusing on the specific details of that, but really about how we are within that. So that's coming out in 2 weeks. It's already on Amazon, pre-order. Lots of information on my website, and there are many events. There always are online events. There's a weekend retreat online coming up next weekend, and there's a 6-week course based loosely on the theme of the book, which is openness and falling open, starting in mid-October. And there are other things. We have online meetings all the time, so you have to check the website calendar, sign up to my newsletter. That's it, and some
Perfect.
private sessions once a month.
Okay, excellent. AMODA, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate having you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you for having invited me, and beautiful that everyone joined.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.